Call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. The records show that a quorum of board members is present. This meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening to everybody. Welcome to our last board meeting of this school year. I'd just like to take a quick second to congratulate all the students who are here to making it to the end of a school year, and I'd especially like to congratulate the teachers for making it to the end of a school year. We know it hasn't been a normal year, and we really appreciate all the hard work and administrators and everyone else who makes it happen also. We're going to start this evening with an invocation by Tracy Coburn from Six Stones.
If you'll bow your heads with me, please. Father God, this has been a year of challenges, but as with every challenge you give, there is an opportunity. Our teachers, students, administrators, and staff have all worked so hard this year to use your opportunities well and to triumph over the challenges. All worked, and now everyone's tired. At the end of this challenging year, Father, grant all in HEBISD much-needed rest. Let them go home from school and relax, rest, and recharge. Give them fun and family for this summer and allow any challenges to be easily met. Be with the students who are graduating. Give them a spirit of boldness as they move into college or the working world. Be with the students who are moving into new grades next year. Let them have fun through this summer and go into the next year knowing that they can be successful. Be with the teachers, Father, who just have worked so hard this year to help their students succeed, and just let them recharge their batteries. Be with the administrators who are hiring right now. Just let them find the right people to lead their students. And be with all the staff, Father. Just help them to relax and rest and be ready for a new school year in August. Father God, just watch over everyone in HEBISD and help everyone to remember Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Thank you for all your love, Father. Amen.
Next, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Moises Alejandro Cruz Melendez Jr. and Zoe McCormick from Wilshire Elementary. You guys want to just start us off and we'll follow. All right, thank you guys. If you'll come up here for just a second, we have a couple things for you. Okay. Let's see, Zoe, here you go. And Moises, here you go. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, hold those up, and people are going to want to take pictures of you. So, Moises is quite a little charmer. He'll flash his big smile and gets a spark in his eyes like no other. He is a quick learner and loves to be the teacher's helper. He also likes math and enjoys playing outside. Moises is a new member to the Suzuki Strings program and is proud to be a Wilshire Wildcat. Zoe is a student who gets along with everyone. She is respectful to her teachers and her peers. She is a hard worker and a member of the Wildcat Choral and Suzuki Strings. Zoe is a true representation of an exceptional Wilshire Wildcat student. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. So At the April 25th board meeting, the Board of Trustees established a committee to present to the full board a slate of officers for the 2022-2023 school year. At this time, I'd like to call upon Chris Brown to present the slate of officers and make a motion.
Thank you, Matt. The committee met and the slate of officers for consideration is as follows. President Matt Romero, Vice President Rochelle Ross, Secretary Julie Cole. I move that the board accept this slate of officers.
Second. All right, thank you for that motion. Is there any discussion from the board? All right, please vote. All right, and the slate of board officers for the 2022-2023 school year is approved. Thank you, board, and thank you, committee, for doing that work. We're not going to change seats this evening, but we will flip-flop between vice president and secretary. Does anybody else wish to change seats? All right, then everyone else will stay put. Apologize, having a hard time with the computer. Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in its regularly scheduled monthly meeting to officially act on items included in the posted agenda. The board welcomes and appreciates comments and input from the community. Open forum is provided at each meeting to allow the public to address the board. There will be two open forums tonight. Open forum number 1 is to hear requests regarding agenda items only. Open forum number 2 is to hear requests or make comments regarding non-agenda items and will be heard at the end of the meeting. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify his or her name, group affiliation if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if a person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located on the table, not in the entry hall, but in the back, okay. All right, Dr. Harrington, superintendent's comments?
So in your packet, you received some graduation information today. So just make sure you review that. Overall, remember, Keys graduation is Friday night, Cross Cities at 7 p.m. LD Bell and Trinity graduation is Sunday at Dickey's Arena at 2 and 6. So if you do have any questions on the information in your packets, please let me know. Also, the Student Ambassadors Banquet. The Student Ambassador Banquet is on Wednesday. It is at 6 o'clock. It had been posted at 6:30. It is 6 o'clock. We will again be at Texas Star, but just so you do know, last year we were in the pavilion outside. We will be inside this year. All right, that's it. Yeah, I do have one clarification. At the previous board meeting, the question on graduation parking was asked. We were able to purchase one parking pass for each graduate, and the high schools are distributing those.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harrington. Next, we will review the board activity chart, and I will start with Ms. Dawn Jordan-Wells.
Well, I actually enjoyed something that we've missed from the last few years. I got to attend the Trinity High School IB dinner. I really enjoyed that event each time we get to go, so I was grateful to be able to attend that and have some good ethnic food.
I as well attended the Trinity IB celebration, as well as the LD Bell IB celebration the next day. I also attended a couple of lead HEB events. There was the year 2 final meeting, which was their the culmination of their 2-year curriculum for emerging leaders amongst the employees. I also attended the reception for the brand new cohort for lead HEB. So we have 18 new teachers and employees from within the district that are starting a 2-year journey in the hopes of at some point becoming a leader in the district. I attended the celebration of Harwood Junior High's 50th anniversary, and they did a great job. There were kids performing and kids singing and tours, and there were lots of alumni there, which was a big surprise to me. I also attended the Suzuki Strings celebration. They did a concert on Friday night, which I couldn't attend. Then on Saturday morning, all those littles, kindergarten through 6th grade, got together for several hours in the morning to work with some renowned musicians. And then they played that music in a concert Saturday afternoon, and that's what I was able to attend. It's unbelievable when you see all of those kiddos on the stage at one time, because we have Suzuki Strings at several campuses, and they make a loud noise, and it was fantastic. A joyous noise, yes. We had our final meeting of the school year for the Education Foundation, and I don't normally talk a lot about that, but there is one event coming up that I want to try to put on the radar of the board members, and that is the Superintendent Circle of Giving on June the 16th. I can't attend because I will be at Summer Leadership Institute, but those that are not attending Summer Leadership Institute in San Antonio, I would highly encourage you to attend that event. I attended the VIPS, which is Volunteers in Public Schools, brunch. This year it was brunch instead of lunch, which made it kind of fun and different. And it really is just a celebration of the volunteers that volunteer in our schools. And I wish I had that data with me, but it was like enough hours that equals several $1 million worth of time volunteered to this district. Amazing group of individuals.
So I too have been busy. We love this time of year because there's so much. So I do have a lot. I went to Bell Manor. They had a cultural fair, and each of the kids had a poster of the country they were from, and you could scan the little QR code, and it would tell you about their country and their food and things that they like to do, and it was just fascinating to talk to some of these kids that have come here literally from countries that I can only dream of ever going to. I went to Wilshire Elementary to see Lion King kids, and then also Donna Park did Lion King kids, and oh, those kids were just so cute. Went to Bedford Heights and saw Seussical. I went to Stonegate Elementary. I had gone several weeks ago to visit their Girls in Leadership, and I was invited back to do their tea party, and it was great because it was the girls dressed in their Sunday best, and their moms came dressed, I mean, to the nines, and we had a tea party, and we played bingo. Everybody wore tiaras, and it was fabulous to see these girls taking so much pride in everything that they were doing, and hats off to Miss Nordine. She's really, really working with those girls, and it just stole my heart. I went to Bel Air for their Arts Fest, which was always fun because there's art all over from every grade, every kid. It was fabulous. I had made a pledge at the beginning of the year. You know, I'm a little afraid of junior high kids. I made a pledge to get on more junior high campuses this year, and I did. I went to Harwood Junior High, again, for their 50th anniversary that Miss Cole mentioned. It was fabulous. I went to Hurst Junior High, shot off a rocket with a group of kids, which in itself was fun. But what I really loved is I had about 10 minutes just to talk to the kids and be very candid and ask them some really candid questions about school and where they are. And it was neat to listen to the kids tell me what they liked about school and what was hard about school and maybe how we can help them more, so I loved that. I went to Hurst Junior High. They had a Disney choir concert, as did Bedford Junior High had a Disney choir concert. You know, Disney's my thing, so that was a great weekend. Went to Trinity High School. They had a Disney choir concert. And then I also got to attend the Trinity Choir Banquet, which was amazing. Those kids they just knocked me out of the park. And it was kind of one last salute to Mr. Dean, and it was very moving. I only made one retirement party this year here at the BCTA TEA because I'm friends with Elaine Vaughn, so that was nice. HEB Reads on Saturday was so amazing. I loved seeing all of the kids just running around screaming, bubble truck, Lego truck, like it was, Fred and I were running around screaming in the bubbles. It was fantastic. I co-chair a leadership program through the Chamber of Commerce, and I just want to publicly, thank Joe and all of his leadership team. They came to speak to that leadership on public education and HEB, and all of the plus deltas we got, they were all pluses. Everybody just had no idea what HEB does, and it really shone a very bright light on public education. So thank you to Joe and all of his team for coming out. And then the Education Foundation gave out grants, and so we did 2 Mondays of Prize Patrol. And you have not had fun until you have gone and surprised teachers with money and grants. And I mean, just screaming kids, screaming key teachers, screaming principals. But we hit 22 campuses and gave out, there were 36 or 37 grants, but it was grants across the board, I think, this year. And it's just neat because obviously we say this all the time, we can't do everything for them, but it's neat that the Education Foundation, it was somewhere around $79,000 that we were able to really go in and help teachers with. So I, this year, was on every school campus, and I think I really learned a lot. I had a great time, and principals, please, next year, continue to invite us because I've really enjoyed this year. I think more than any other year as a board member, this has been my favorite year visiting campuses, talking to teachers, talking to kids, talking to principals. So we've been busy, but I've had a great time. So thank you for all of the invites.
Well, this is definitely the time of year where we are very active, and we definitely enjoy being so. I think there's an event for us every single day, including Sunday for this week and this past week as well. I'm not going to repeat because we did a lot of the same things. 2 things that I did attend that haven't been mentioned so far. I had another event for Leadership TASB in Longview, and I'm part of a 1-year, well, it turned out to be a 2-year program due to COVID. And so I'll give you a full report when I finish up next month. And then I had a great opportunity to go to the Bell High School prom. Randy, tell your staff they did an awesome job. I just thought it was amazing. The kids look good, and you guys just pulled off a great deal, and thanks for continuing to invite us. And then I think I've been to more retirement parties this year than any other time, and that's always bittersweet. We definitely want to cheer those, and then we're kind of sad to see some of them go, but it's been an interesting year.
All right, thank you, board. I'm going to pass as well so that we can move on to introduction of student ambassadors. I'd like to say a quick thanks to our greeters this evening. You may have noticed 2 students in green blazers as you enter tonight. 3 students. These students are part of the HEBISD Ambassador Program, which is a select group of students chosen through an application and interview process to be the face of the district. They are trained to assist in public relations and communication services and are given the opportunity to positively promote HEBISD while developing leadership skills. Tonight we have Brooklyn Studinsky, Paul Robles, who are juniors at LD Bell, and Mauro Intrican, who is a junior at Trinity. This past year, we have been using this opportunity to hear the voice of of our district students by asking the ambassadors questions. This month, we are asking this question. What lesson have you learned from your senior ambassadors that you hope to pass down to junior ambassadors next year?
Hi, my name is Brooklyn, and the thing that was most beneficial for me from learning from the seniors was to always give a helping hand to those juniors. Especially since our first training, the seniors were always the ones to reach out and get the conversation going. And I think that's really important because it got all the rest of the juniors involved and all of us involved as a group. The seniors were always the one to encourage us to go to more events, because the more events you go to, the more people you meet and the more connections you have with other people in HEB and also just among the ambassadors. So next year, I hope to give out that same helping hand to the next year's junior ambassadors.
Hello, my name is Maro, and this past year, I think one of the most important lessons I've learned from my senior ambassadors is the importance of dedicating your time. Not spreading out your time so much so that you can't really commit to something, but focusing yourself and making sure that you are giving 110% to whatever you choose to participate in. And I think that's a very important lesson to be passed on in any organization, but especially in the student ambassadors. Thank you.
My name is Paul Robles, and the lesson that I learned from our current senior ambassadors that I plan on passing down to our rising junior ambassadors would be the importance of maintaining an attitude of encouragement and optimism. I believe that by developing a language of encouragement, we can uplift one another and strengthen each other to have the confidence in accomplishing the task that we are given. And I believe that if we develop a mindset of optimism, it will allow us the confidence in knowing that we have the capabilities and resources from the district and being able to volunteer and make impacts in our district and the events. And so, yeah, I plan on carrying that to our rising junior ambassadors.
Thank you, ambassadors. We always appreciate you seeing you at all of our meetings, and we look forward to seeing the three of you at a lot of events next year. All right, next we will recognize our top 10 students from LD Bell and Trinity.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to present to you all our top 10 graduates from both Trinity and Bell High Schools. These students have worked tirelessly throughout their educational careers to be the best of the best, and we are so proud of them and their accomplishments. We know they all have bright futures ahead of them. Students, as I call your name, come across the stage, and parents, if you're here, if you would stand when I call your student's name. Belcher? Scoot in a little bit, guys, towards the middle.
And before you leave, the board always likes you guys to turn around and let us know your plans for next year.
Now you gotta talk to us.
Congratulations. We're very proud of your achievements. And we like to just kind of go down the line and kind of hear what you guys have in store for your plans for next year.
I'm going to the University of Texas at Arlington, and I'm going to be studying biomedical engineering.
I will be attending SMU, and I will be majoring in biology.
I will be attending UT Austin, and I'm majoring in business.
I'm going to the University of Texas at Arlington to study biology and pre-dentistry.
I'm going to UT Austin to study electrical engineering.
I plan on attending UT Dallas and studying computer science.
I'm going to UTA to study aerospace engineering.
I'm going to University of Dallas to study biology.
I'll be studying at UT Austin, studying aerospace engineering. And I also happen to be in engineering honors.
I'll be attending Harvard University, and I'll be studying biology on a pre-med track.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
We're going to let you all sit down, and then we'll get everybody together when we're done. Congratulations. All right, and now for Trinity's top 10. Number 10, Alexander Fike. Number 9, Philip Nguyen. Number 8, Sarah Calvert. Number 7, Logan Zestro. Number 6, Nicholas King. Number 5, Ritika Banapali. Number 4, Emily Wynn. Number 3, Vidhi Patel. The Trinity High School salutatorian, Sophia Hawkins. And the Trinity High School valedictorian, Zara Gawani.
Congratulations, Trinity Top 10. Now we'd like to do the same thing.
I'll be attending UTA and studying aerospace engineering.
We'll
going to attend the University of Texas at Arlington, and I'm studying mechanical engineering.
I'll be attending Cleveland State University in Ohio to double major in political science and sociology and fencing on their fencing team.
I will be going to Texas A&M, and I will be studying business.
I'm going to the University of Alabama to study computer science.
I will be studying computer science at UT Austin.
I will be attending UT Austin to study electrical engineering.
I'll be attending UTD to major in computer science.
I'll be attending Oklahoma State University to study industrial engineering and management.
I'll be attending Vanderbilt University to study neurobiology.
Thank you. And congratulations. Great job, and thanks for sharing with us. Did you already take your pictures? Okay. All right. Thank you.
We're going to release the kiddos to go back to the back with their parents to take pictures, so just give us a couple of minutes.
We have a photo op set up for you guys back in the bistro, so if you want to head that way, that'd be great. With your families, yes, families can take pictures. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we will be passing out certificates of appreciation for donations that we approved at our last meeting, and those will be read off by Board Vice President Rochelle Ross.
The grand total of donations tonight is $6,021, so thank you to everyone who helps contribute to that. The first certificate will be presented by Board President Matt Romero to Bel Air Elementary, from Bel Air Elementary School PTA to Bel Air Elementary School for $797, and the donation will go towards half of Bel Air's Moose notebooks for students. And Darla Clark will accept the certificate. The next certificate will be presented by Don Jordan Wells to Sam Clemens at the Buinger CTE Academy for a 2003 Chevy Trailblazer donation valued at $1,000, which will enable students to experience diagnosing and repairing more recent vehicle electronic systems. And Mr. Clemens, Tom Hook, and Lisa Carr will accept the certificate. The next certificate will be presented by Board Member Andy Cargile to the HEB Retired School Employees for STEM. A $700 donation will go towards HEB Reads books and supplies. Kathy Patrick and Jerry Poole will accept the certificate. Kira's there too. The next certificate will be presented by Board Member Chris Brown to Donna Park Elementary from their PTA for $3,524, and the donation will go towards upgrading Donna Park's sound system. Julie McAvoy, principal, will accept. I have to say, when I went to see their musical at Donna Park, Darla and I left and said to Miss McAvoy, we need to find a way to get you a better sound system. And she said, we're working on it. Miss McAvoy works fast.
All right, thank you for all those donations. We know that it's hard to do the things that we want to do without support from the community, and these donations are just a great example of that support. So thank you again to everyone who has given. At this time, we're ready for open forum number 1. Do we have any requests? Okay, so our first speaker is Karen Hoang. Just a reminder that you'll have 3 minutes and your time will be up on the board or up on the screen.
I'm sorry, this is my first board meeting, and forgive me if I say something wrong. I might start. My children of mine was currently attending Bel Air in Central Junior High. We are blessed that my youngest was part of the Suzuki Strings program and now a member of an orchestra program at Central Junior High. Our music department is one of the best in the Metroplex. We are in Region 31, and every year many of HEBISD students participate blind audition and won most of the seats. Other school districts even complain because their students couldn't make it to the Region 31. That's the reason why this past year, Region 31 had to add another lower orchestra for the high school level in order for more students at other school districts able to get in. Most of HEBISD orchestra members at Central Junior High and Bel were members of the Suzuki String program, and so did my daughter. I was attending the Suzuki Strings Festival on April 29th at the auditorium at Bel, and it was packed like sardine. It was so many students there. And if the fire marshal walked in, they might shut it down because parents would sit on the floor. I know that other school districts now close to us have the Visual and Performing Arts Center, like Arlington ISD, Fort Worth ISD, Mansfield ISD, and Frisco is building one. Our district is growing so fast, and the Suzuki's program is growing as well. And I would love to know if we are going to build the Performing Arts Center in the future. And that's what my question is. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. I know this is your first board meeting, but we're not allowed to actually answer your question now, but any board member, or if you'd like to email me directly, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about it. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Nathan Grissom.
See if this works. We'll make it work. I talk loud. Hello, thank you for your time. I currently serve as the president of the Suzuki Strings Booster Club. So I am here in that role, but also as the father of Jack, a second grade cellist. In full disclosure, I'm also a visual arts teacher at Wilshire. This year, I was able to attend the Suzuki Strings spring, fall festivals, and for the first time to ever walk into Bel, and I was shocked and disappointed in the facilities that we have there. They were old, worn out, small. They lacked acoustics needed for any kind of productive performance arts groups. There weren't even wings in the auditorium. If you were there, you might have seen instruments were having to be laid out on the floor of the auditorium, at the risk of getting all trampled over. It was a mess. But I just, excuse me, I just can't imagine how our theater arts can perform in such a, their productions in such a space. But so I began to ask around about the facilities at Bel and Trinity. And I got lots of answers and stories about poor ventilation and lack of practice space and even burst eardrums due to the poor acoustics. I was told that there are plans to update the school soon, which I support 100%, but feel new paint and carpet will never meet the needs of our amazing musicians and artists. If possible, these schools could benefit from new facilities, not just a touch-up, whether it's in the form of a new wing or a tear down and replace. They are desperately needed. I'm aware of the investments of many districts of our neighboring areas that are making fine arts, the programs they're getting, fine arts facilities, performing arts centers, and as one of the top music communities one of the top communities for music education in our nation, I believe our students would thrive with facilities based around them and their art. I'm thinking performance halls, a box theater, art galleries to showcase their hard work. Ideally one at each campus, but you know, if need be, maybe something central that we could have. But we just need to do something. This will not only benefit our high school students, but all ages and all fine arts. Just this year, the Visual Arts Department was unable to secure a large location, large enough to have an art fair, an art show, and to reward those in a ceremony. A dedicated location would solve that problem. I'd like to close in saying that I know this board has a great reputation of listening to its teachers and staffs, and I beg of you to listen to them on these issues now. And if a bond program is in our near future, I want you to know a strong focus on our fine arts will receive support from a large amount of our community, and we'll make sure of it. We just need the best for the best. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Missy Saunders. Is Ms. Saunders here? Okay. All right, well, I'll keep her card for open forum 2, see if she returns. At this time, the board will be going into closed session pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The board will adjourn to closed session pertaining to sections 551.071 to 551.074. At this time, the board is returning into open session. And we are at item 10.01, consider approval of Director of Purchasing. I will accept the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the appointment of Gary Curbo as Director of Purchasing as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. Mr. Curbo, we always like to give new additions to our family a chance to stand up and introduce anybody who's here with you. Thank you, sir, and welcome to HEB. Does any board member have anything they'd like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
I move we approve the consent.
Texas law requires the establishment of a SHAC for every school district, and the SHAC is required to meet 4 times a year. The job of the SHAC is to make sure that the school district's school health programs reflect the local community's values. A good SHAC is based on what is called the WISC model. It's whole school, whole community, whole child model. You can see the child in the middle, surrounded by all of these different entities, and then surrounded by the community. Our SHAC did have 4 meeting dates this year. Meeting agendas are posted on the website with a Zoom link, and they are posted in district facility central offices at least 72 hours prior to those meetings. Recordings of the meetings are posted on the website after the meeting is held, and the minutes of the meetings are posted after they are approved by the SHAC. This is a list of our SHAC membership for the 21-22 school year. We currently have 8 district employees. We have 6 parents and 2 community members. This is up from 2019 when we had only 7 employees on our SHAC council. So we are continuing to try to recruit new members through our PTA, through our campuses. We would love to have district representation from every campus in the district. I'm going to go on to just a quick summary of every department that is represented on our SHAC, and so these are just the different departments that are represented by the WISC model. So under district safety, and this is just kind of a summary of what we talked about and the summary of items that were presented at our SHAC meetings. So for district safety, grant money was used to complete badges for all staff to have key card access to ISD facilities to improve security. Security film is now present on the front window of all academic buildings, which is bullet resistant, slows entry, and anchors glass to keep from breaking. That was also grant funded. And due to COVID this year, we had to move drills to go and show until live drills could be resumed, and live drills did resume in March of 2022. Under counseling and mental health, and this is a summary again, ESSER funds were allocated to increase communities in schools program managers to 12. We did place 5 CIS mental health counselors for intensive therapy. ESSER funds were allocated to increase access to the Mind Over Matter program. T-Chat was provided through JPS, and that provides 5 free telehealth counseling or psychiatry visits, and that is currently serving about 32 students. That was presented, at the beginning of the year by Ms. Harris, and these programs have been incredible for our students. But there's more for counseling and mental health. We do have a memorandum of understanding with the Recovery Resource Council, which provides substance abuse services, and they will do an evaluation, offer 6 sessions to youth and families. They do a reassessment, and then if more sessions are needed, they offer a total of 10 sessions, and they provide services for outreach, screening, assessment, and then referrals. We also have a memorandum of understanding with MHMR of Tarrant County, which is My Health, My Resources, and they actually come to us and provide services to our students where behaviors are occurring. They work on coping skills, anger management, social skills, and life management for our students that are ages 6 to 17. And they will work with them in their home or at school. And they are currently working with 85 to 90 HEB students. And then we continue our referrals to Crisis Intervention and Prevention Team. That's Ms. Harris's crisis team. Through online referral forms for parents and campuses. We have Campus Crime Stoppers, Friends for Life, and the Go Guardian Beacon Alerts. For the health services updates, most of my updates, of course, most people were interested in COVID. This year, our other services continued, such as Save a Smile serves 6 of our campuses, and we continued flu shots, and our preventative vision and hearing screenings continued. But for our SHAC meetings, the interest was in the COVID updates, so that's what we focused on. So you can see from this chart how our COVID trends went, which was in August. In September, we had that Delta surge, and the blue is staff and the red is students. And then we continued to go down through December until Omicron hit in January, which was our biggest surge, and then we have continued to decrease since then. We did open our COVID testing center at Pennington Field. That was open from October 26th to April 29th. We did use a TEA vendor, Quest. It's called Quest Concentric by Ginkgo. We did perform 5,616 rapid antigen tests with a total of 1,373 positive results. And then once the people tested there, they followed up with either the school nurse or the COVID nurse, and they provided the follow-up and guidance to all of those students and staff. They also provided, follow-up to students and staff who, they had the choice to go test anywhere they would have liked to test, but this was another option for them, especially when testing was difficult, lines were long at other places. This was a good option for our families. We had several COVID vaccine opportunities for those people who wished to have that. This was through our community partners, Mid-Cities Pharmacy, Star Wellness, and Tarrant County Public Health. Once the COVID vaccine was approved for students ages 5 to 11, Mid-Cities Pharmacy did come out and offer that to our families. And this summary is for pre-K family engagement, and we had over 700 students enrolled in pre-K this year. Parent Academy, the Parent Academy through Family Engagement offered parenting education classes in English, Spanish, French, and Arabic with in-person and virtual offerings. The classes focus on family systems, positive family interactions, parenting, student success, communication, self-esteem, and transitions. And they also have a website with other offerings, and we continue to offer ESL classes at the Pat May Center. Child nutrition, they had several supply chain issues that presented problems this year. They continued to have a goal to offer at least one favorite entree for each meal. They were able to accomplish that. They also had a shortage of serving supplies, so that just depended on the day. Some schools, they didn't have the serving supplies, and they had to, use box lunches, and it just depended on the school, what supplies they had, so they just kind of had to adapt there. The staffing shortage had been approximately 25% through the year, and they are currently at 22%. They did announce that the meals will not be free for everyone next year, so parents will need to complete the free and reduced lunch application. Summer meals will be free, but the free lunch waiver ends on 6/30/22, unless there's a further update, but that's the last update that we received. SHAC legislation, this is just kind of a summary of the different legislation that pertains to SHAC. The one that we were really focused on this year was House Bill 1525. It relates to updated procedures in recommending human sexuality instruction curriculum and changes in meeting requirements to include posting a notice of the meeting, recording the meeting, and posting minutes to the meeting to the district website. I went over that part. We are in compliance with that. And then when we do offer any human sexuality instruction, parents do have to be notified, and they do have to opt into that. So prior to House Bill 1525, a parent could just opt out of any instruction. Now it will have to be a written permission to opt in, and that information cannot be sent home like in a packet with a bunch of other papers to sign. It has to be a separate piece of paper or information sent home saying, we are going to offer this instruction and we need you to give written permission that your child can opt into this.
Joy, I have a question about that. Will it be just a piece of paper that goes home, or is it an email? Like, I worry on both sides that the kids want something that the parents may not want, or vice versa, that the kids may or may not give that piece of paper, either purposely or unintentionally, to their parent.
I don't believe it's going to be paper, but I don't know that we have all the details ironed out on that yet.
But it would go out like to whatever email address is on file, or it would be an actual.
The information will be sent in multiple ways. The system to gather the information will be an electronic system, but it can't be part of registration. It has to be its own piece. But we've been talking about that. We're going to have to continually send information to make people aware, and we're going to recommend also during registration that they go back and do that. But what we've been told is it cannot be part of that. And so it's actually going to, they're working on building that now. It will exist outside of that.
It can't be something that gets lost in the shuffle. It has to be its own notification.
I think a lot of what their purpose was, they did not want one signature to cover 20 things. They wanted this to be its own item.
And I agree with that. I just think this has the potential to be a hot subject. And so the best way, and the best way to get to the parent, for the parent to say yes or no would be, that's a tough job. I can see this becoming.
Well, for the 5th grade puberty video, we sent it several ways. We sent it paper, we sent it electronically. We had nurses calling the parent because we didn't want, if the parent did want the child to see the video, we didn't want them to miss that opportunity just because the paper got lost. So I think that's something we'll be working through. But we did offer several different ways of getting that information out. So just to give you an update of what we focused on this year as a SHAC, the health TEKs were changing this year, and so we had to review some curriculum, and we did review a program called Choosing the Best, which was brought to us by Mid-Cities Women's Clinic, and it is a abstinence-centered sexual risk avoidance program. And we also reviewed the Goodhart-Wilcox High School and Middle School Health Education book, and that is the only book that was approved by the State Board of Education. And as you know, it has a separate opt-in human sexuality instruction piece, and that is the part where the parent would have to give written permission to opt in to that instruction. We had presentations by both of those programs. We had 2 meetings where we discussed those programs, and the SHAC did vote 12-0 to recommend the Goodhart-Wilcox High School and Middle School Health Education book with the separate opt-in human sexuality instruction. We also looked at our wellness plan. We went through the goals that had been set out in our wellness plan and found that we had met those goals through a variety of things, and we're in the process of just taking input for a new wellness plan and coming up with some goals for what we want to achieve next. The input we have so far is we'd like to do some focus on employee wellness and on our cell phone policy and the way that affects students.
Communication plan to the parents who wouldn't qualify but have been getting start filling that bank up again?
I do not know the answer to that.
Yeah, I will check on that. I do not know if we
Yeah, I think that's going to be important because parents get really, really busy and, you know, they forget to fill up their kids', you know, lunch accounts and, you know.
And another question, Dobie, is has the FDA set a new floor in terms of lunch prices? Because I know that's something that we typically have to vote on every year is. I don't know if we have to vote on it if it doesn't change.
They usually come in and tell us.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. One thing I'd like to say to the board is if you know anybody who's a parent and not an employee who would be a good member of the SHAC, we can always help recruit members of the SHAC. It's always a challenge to get enough, you know, to meet our quotas in terms of the number of parents who aren't employees. So any help we can give to the SHAC, I think it would be appreciated.
And it's not a big time commitment. It's 4 meetings a year. We try to keep the meetings at about an hour. We are doing Zoom meetings because some of our parents, it's just not possible for them to get here because they may have a special needs child at home or their kids are getting off the bus. We've tried doing alternate times for meetings. Everybody kind of wanted to go back to 4 o'clock. So the fact that it's a Zoom meeting and they can do it from home and it's not a big time commitment, but it really helps us just to have their input. So.
We could send a note to all of our former board ambassadors and ask them if they want to serve.
Yes, that is a good idea.
So yes, we would appreciate any parents you could send our way. It's a real quick application on the website.
How many more parents do we need in order to meet our requirement that a majority are parents?
So if we have 6, I mean, we need probably at least 3 more.
So I know that the board shall appoint at least 5 members. How many of our current members have been appointed by the board?
The ones that are on right now have just kind of filled out the application and volunteered. I don't know that any have been appointed.
Yeah, we're going to start bringing that to the board so that we're doing that properly.
And I know one of those has to be a chair or a co-chair. Is that the case right now?
No, we don't currently have a chair or a co-chair.
Okay.
Some school boards have one representative from each campus, just so that you have representation from all areas of your district, which is not what we have right now.
So it sounds like we're working on that. When's our first meeting for the next set of 4?
In September, it's usually the 3rd Tuesday of September.
Okay.
And just so you know, I reached out to our PTA to see if they could add that as a position at each school, that we have each campus with their own SHAC liaison, to see if we could get additional members. We have asked PTA before. We just have not had consistent participation.
You know, I think the last time we had a chair of this committee was when I was the chair of the committee prior to being a board member. It has been a struggle to get people to be on this committee for as long as I've known, 12 years now. So for whatever reason, this has continued. And we're not the only district. I did attend a conference the summer that I was the chair of this committee with lots of other chairs of SHACs, and every district was having this same issue.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we will have an update on the Reading Academy plan for 2022-2023.
All right, this is a little awkward angle because I hate not looking at you while I am speaking to you. So I hope I'm getting picked up by the microphone. If you don't, that might be better.
We think this is awkward too, it's okay.
I'm also too short. Hello. Slow and short, that applies to me as well. No, this is just a little too far for me, so thank you. And then I'll pass it back if y'all have questions. So I am actually bringing you an update to the update this evening. You may think, didn't we see this before? In March, I came, I believe it was March 7th, the date's in the write-up, and brought you our plan because this is now, we're entering our third year, the final year to meet the initial requirement from House Bill 3 for Reading Academy. And in April, TEA brought out new guidance. So I am updating our update, and some of these actually end up making us, putting us in a position where we can address some of the things that some of you asked at the time. So this is, excited to bring this to you. This is, of course, aligned to our strategic plan quality indicator about early literacy. So the changes that were rolled out from TEA in April really have impacted our plan in 4 areas. The required participants who needs to come through, the delivery model that we're going to use, which we talked about at the March update, the personnel involved in delivering that model, and overall on the budget. So I'm going to talk briefly about each of these areas. First is required participants. Originally, this was very wide sweeping from TEA, and we talked about that this is not just, it's literacy, but it wasn't just reading teachers. All of these people on the left side were originally part of the role as required participants. And so TEA has moved some of those requirements. Some might be recommended, some are no longer required. They've used some different phrasing for that, but we did look for our program at anything that is still required by TEA. Of course, we're still including, but we did look at a couple of roles. We decided to still require our assistant principals because principals will always be required, and we would rather have our assistant principals who are potentially on the path to be a principal have already been through the academy and be prepared. So we chose to keep that role, and of course when you look at the job that our language arts instructional specialists are doing, they are in and out of those reading classrooms all the time. So we are keeping those roles. Dyslexia, when you really look at the training that they have had, if they are CALT dyslexia teachers, then they have this and beyond. And at this time, our only dyslexia teachers who had not already been through do have that. So delivery model. We spent quite a bit of time really over the last 2 years talking about the fact that we have used the comprehensive model, and we have been held up as an example to other districts through Region 11 that we were the only district for 2 years in a row to have 100% of our participants completing. That other districts had teachers withdrawing, not completing, and we really feel like it was because of this comprehensive model that allowed our teachers to attend in person, receive this training. They received coaching, they received observation visits. I mean, they were carried along that way. They felt like someone was alongside this journey for them. When the blended model was first rolled out and presented, it was really, perhaps a better name would have been asynchronous virtual. It was, here you are with your computer, watch these videos, take these tests online, hope you pass. And they had all the same material. So we did not choose the blended model. But some new guidance that came out in April has let us go back and look at how can we take that and be different by design, take the blended model, still have our local implementation, but move from keep the best parts of our comprehensive model, but adopt the blended model instead that allows us to customize things a little bit differently, especially as we move into year 3, because we've seen what has worked really well for us in those first 2 years. We do not want to let go of any of the pieces that we felt like really attributed to this success, because we're going to be 3 years in a row of 100% completion. I am quite sure of that. So we get to look at our model differently, though. So the new blended model, we can take some of the pieces that are more information-based that maybe could be delivered of, I just need to read these things, versus the things that are application where we need that discussion, you need to practice, you need to role play with a partner, etc. So we can blend, you're going to do these pieces on your own, but we're going to bring you in for these days. And now that we've done it for 2 years, our Reading Academy cohort leaders are very well versed at where did our participants struggle more? What would be really essential for them to be on coming in and having that discussion and support versus what they could do on their own time. But by making that change, we're able to reduce the number of days we have to pull participants from their classroom. So that has an impact both for those students, that their teacher is still with them more of those days, and also as we have struggled in making sure that we have enough subs for holes that we're creating when we pull our own teachers for these trainings. So when you look at this side by side, the instructional format, originally what we were planning for 22-23, this comprehensive model, it would have been 10 days face-to-face. We were going to pull them for those days. Every single participant was going to get 4 observation visits from a cohort leader and 4 coaching sessions. That is why there's so much time involved with a comprehensive session. They're all getting all this support, which has been fabulous for our teachers, and we do think that was an important piece of success. But in reviewing these pieces, we're now planning only 6 days face-to-face, and the other 4 days, and I put them in quotation marks because since it's no longer, here's a day you're coming to campus, for one teacher, it might be a day because they took a Saturday and worked on their own. For another, it's, I'm going to do a couple hours on Monday night and a couple hours on Tuesday. It will be that self-paced for 4 days worth of the material. Then for our observation and coaching, we can really look at who are our participants in Reading Academy. Is it a really veteran teacher who has strong literacy already? Maybe we just need 1 or 2 observations or coaching with them versus new hires, new to the career, or maybe just recently moved to a different grade level that need more support. So even though it's not required in the blended model, we're going to keep those pieces, but we can be flexible in how many observation and coaching sessions that we deliver. For our bilingual and Spanish immersion, we have been using that not as a local implementation. That was our authorized provider. That is still going to be through Region 11. We just don't have those resources, and if they were to switch to blended as well, it would be back to they're on their own with their computers. So we want to be sure they have those resources, but it's very exciting. We're working with Region 11 right now on what their schedule will look like for next year, and they are building a cohort that is just our people, so they are going to come to us instead of our bilingual and Spanish immersion teachers having to drive to Region 11 in Fort Worth. So that's an exciting change for them. That is a big relief for them, and they'll even come twice for each of the days so that we're not pulling 20 bilingual and Spanish immersion teachers all out of the classroom on the same day. They'll come deliver day 1 2 different times so that we can split up that substitute need. So the personnel, I mentioned when we looked at the comprehensive, it was so much more intensive with all that required coaching and observation. That is why the maximum number of participants allowed in a comprehensive cohort is only 60. But for a blended, you can have up to 100 participants per cohort. So we were planning for 240 participants this year. So it took 4 cohort leaders to get all of those participant spots that we needed. Well, a couple of things have happened. This change, if we can put more teachers and participants in a cohort, but also our principals have been doing an incredible job when they have hired some of our new spots. They are looking for teachers that are coming already having Reading Academy. So ones that we were anticipating needing to go through no longer need to. And also back to one of my early slides, some of the personnel that got released, if we're no longer putting math instructional specialists through this. So our number has gone down from 240. We're actually trending right now, we should be under 200 participants. So we can do that with 2 cohort leaders instead of 4. And we always think for the contingency, what if it wasn't 200? What if we end up with 201? And actually in this model, blended cohort leaders are actually allowed to carry 3 cohorts of 100 each. Now, that's because of the old blended model of you're just on a computer and I'm just tracking 300 people on the computer. We would not give 300 people to one of our cohort leaders because we're using that beauty part of still some is in person, we're still doing some coaching and observation. So we're taking advantage where we can, but still keeping the right level of support. But what that does for our budget is instead of 4 cohorts, there are only 2, and it costs less for a blended cohort rather than the comprehensive. So we have savings in the cohort fees we pay to Region 11. I am just talking about our local implementation since the bilingual biliteracy did not change. It didn't have the budget impact. It just has an impact for our participants with their situation. Substitute, we are pulling fewer days for subs, and this is also adjusted for the number now that we think will have subs. But what will change is, so if we're expecting teachers to do more of these days, whether they're taking a whole Saturday or a couple of hours here and there, they are investing their own time off contract. So there will be, instead of you came in on this day, here's a stipend for this day. We've reviewed that and looked at the impact and which lessons we're asking them to do on their own. And so it was decided that a $400 and just make it a one-time stipend as thank you for all these things you've completed for Reading Academy at the end. So our substitute budget went down, stipends went up. But when we look at that overall, based on all these updates, we could see a savings of over $200,000 over the original plan that I presented to you in March. So do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So, while I recognize that they're getting a stipend for the additional days that they're doing on their own time, right? That's what the stipend is for. What if somebody just doesn't feel like they want to do that on their own time at all? I just worry about teachers have been so busy, and now we're asking them to do this on their time, which I recognize that we're paying them for, but.
So we have a plan. This is also why we would not want to carry one cohort leader with 300-person cohorts, because you can't have the same level of follow-up with 300 people that you could with 100. But our cohort leaders, and the two that are remaining on with us, these are not new, they have been doing this, are so good at all the follow-up, because even with the time we were bringing in person, they have been in constant communication with their participants and participants' principals about upcoming assignments. There were things, they called it pre-work. Instead of homework, it wasn't here's what you did and do your homework. There was pre-work to do before coming into a session, artifact deadlines, and they plan to continue that kind of interaction and support, that nobody's going to get behind, that there would be certain communication points before, reminders of work if teachers are not responding to that work or are having trouble making it work, that we would be in communication with the principal, that maybe that is a situation where we need to arrange some of those additional observation or coaching visits because someone is struggling. If it's a time, we could work with the principal and see how else can we support them. But it's going to take constant monitoring, and there's a giant spreadsheet through which we do that.
Any other questions?
Got a question? Thank you, Matt. So in reading some of the updates from TEA in April, I'd like you to talk me through at least a small component of it, because it appeared that the TEA was giving some discretion to school districts on allowing teachers to try to test out of some of the modules. And are we using that in order to drive down our numbers?
Okay, so TEA has, and in the original update there was not a lot of detail, and we have since, I've attended 2 more webinars with TEA and with Region 11, our local authorization cohort leader. There is a testing option that, according to TEA, they believe less than 1% of teachers could actually pass that option. That they would expect this to be a teacher, a very, very highly qualified. Basically, they need to pass the same screener as our cohort leaders do. They also have to pay for that option, and then if they don't, they come back and enter this program. We've had so much success, and in viewing that guidance of about 1% of your teachers, we looked, and when we introduced year 1, those were all of our early adopters. We wanted to build that early experience of success, and we feel like probably all of our teachers that could have been successful in that path have already been through Reading Academy. You asked me the question, I believe, in March about do these still need support, and I said a lot of these are the ones that they're in year 3 because we were building up that support, and we think more of them need support. So it would be a lot of investment in their part, hours to prep for the test, to take the test, and a financial investment at the test that we've been told not very many will pass.
Okay. Thanks, Helen.
is another replacement campus, very similar to how we did Oakwood Terrace in the last couple of years. One of the things that we looked at as we started this project is we looked at the Viridian prototype, which was replicated for Trinity Lakes and Arbor Creek, and we looked at the modified version of the prototype that was done at Oakwood Terrace to determine what made most sense for this particular site. And so this just shows some concept images of kind of how we arrived at our decision, and we moved forward with the Oakwood Terrace prototype because of how it fit on the site, and then also just how it related to the neighborhood around it. What the Oakwood Terrace prototype does is it puts the two-story component of the campus facing Pecan to the north, which is where the apartments across the street are, so very similar in scale that way, and it just gives a better prominence to that street frontage. And then to the west side is the single-story components, and so that really reduces the scale along the park that's to the west and the single-family houses that are beyond that. So that's how we arrived at that decision. This narrative you all can take time to read later. I'm going to go over most of that throughout the presentation, so it's here for reference, but just one other thing I did want to mention as part of the design process as well. We walked Arbor Creek and we walked Oakwood Terrace, our architectural team and all of our consultants with Josh and his team to look at detailing, where can we improve, where can we do things differently, look at efficiency on things. And we've also gone through all of the questions and issues that arose during construction on the last round of projects as well, and are incorporating all of those things into the documents for this project to hopefully continue to improve the next one and the next one and the next one, make it a smoother process for everybody involved. This program I also know is not very readable right now, but again, for your reference for later, I'm just going to hit the highlights on the few tweaks that we made between this one and the last iteration of it. We did study the campus capacities, and this actually is gaining efficiency to where your maximum capacity will be 891 students. Your functional capacity, which is about 90% of that, since you're not going to max out every classroom in every grade level, will be just over 800. The Trinity Lakes and Arbor Creek campuses had some additional school of choice programs, and so that reduced those campus capacities a little bit. And Oakwood Terrace had some PPCD or ECSE, I think is the new acronym, and a motor skills lab and things that also reduce that capacity. So this will be the highest capacity campus you all have in the district at the elementary level. Right now, Bel Air has a little over 600 students, and so, like I said, this will give you 800 or better. Right now, it runs 4 grade levels, 4 classrooms per grade level. This gives you the flexibility to run 5 classrooms per grade level, or those can just be flexible classrooms for other functions as needed. The other thing that we updated is increase the dining area compared to Oakwood Terrace. If you remember Oakwood Terrace, we were just fitting it in the gym. This one, we've increased it by about 250 square feet to be equitable to Trinity Lakes and Arbor Creek. Okay, looking at the site for this campus, this is the phasing plan, so I will try to walk through this with you. The existing building on the east side facing Bel Air obviously will stay in operation throughout construction, just like Oakwood Terrace did. The existing staff parking lot on the northeast corner will also remain in place during construction. The city is requiring us to get all of the driveways in place that we can for fire access throughout construction. So what you see in the dark gray will be the first things to go in before that building goes vertical. The red fire lane to the south is also a requirement for the city so that they can get better access for both the new campus and the existing campus. So that will be a temporary fire lane just for the duration of construction, and then that will be removed after the project is complete. And then where you see the number 2 and the yellow is obviously where the new elementary campus will be. As you are aware, there's a pending land swap agreement to gain a little bit of land here for this all to happen for the school to fit on this site. And as part of that agreement, the city is also allowing the district to temporarily use that softball field for construction staging. And the district will return that to the city in an equal state that it is in today when construction is complete. The plan right now is to begin construction later this fall, around October, and be complete around December for the district to move in over Christmas break and open in January. Then if that happens, then the existing building will come down during the spring of '24, and the parking go in place and everything be completed late spring. There are some things that have that up in the air, and the district has contingency plans to also open it in August if they need to. But the goal is going to remain January 24. Some of the challenges that we're facing right now on the construction side of things, I think you all have heard plenty, but the material shortages are just getting worse. Lead times are getting longer, and so there's just some things that we cannot guarantee that we'll get on time to keep things moving. The labor market also, everything is in such high demand now. It's very challenging to build an elementary school in 14 months like we used to be able to do pretty efficiently. The district is strategizing, the district administration is strategizing on how we might be able to procure some of those items sooner. And so we're working with our consultants and just having some conversations with some contractors to weigh our options and see what we might be able to do to help that process. But there's just so many unknowns right now. And so I just want to put that caveat out there that I wouldn't normally, but it is going to be a challenge to get this open in December, but we're going to do everything that we can to make that possible for the district to have that opportunity. And then secondly, just you can tell when that new school opens and the existing school comes down, you're still missing your largest parking lot and your largest drop-off that you'll see on the next page. And so there's still some site logistics that we need to work out for the temporary measures for that spring. And so that is still being considered internally, and so if the plan is updated, then we'll obviously update you all on that. So those are the things still kind of in the works that may alter this proposed schedule. Any questions on phasing? Okay, this is the new site plan. Once everything is complete, this is what you'll see. It will operate very similar to Oakwood Terrace. Your main entrance is on the north side off of Pecan, and that will be where the bus drop-off is and visitor parking. And then in the back, you'll have your staff parking, and that will be the queuing lanes for the parent drop-off. The city is allowing us to double stack vehicles through there, and so that will give us 64 spaces for on-site queuing. So a vast improvement from what you have today. It might not equal Arbor Creek. I don't think anything will ever equal Arbor Creek, but this is
Awesome.
This is a very good improvement.
You just have to sit. Compared to what's over there right now,
Yes.
this is unbelievable.
Parking count is a total of 148 spaces, which is also very comparable to the other three campuses as well. You will see that the building orientation is angled a little bit. It's not parallel to the streets. We decided instead to parallel it with the park to the west. And there's a couple of reasons in doing that. One, it really opens up the building towards the intersection at Bel Air and just kind of gives that better street frontage there. But secondly, just operationally, it pulls the playgrounds away from that intersection, because at all of these prototypes, that is right outside that classroom wing. And if this were parallel to those streets, it'd be right up there at that intersection, and that was not preferable. The second hard court is over on the southwest corner of the building, right over by the softball field. And so it will have easy access for the parking there that the city will have for after-hours community use as well. And then you can see there will be plenty of green space for play fields or other items as you see fit. Okay, the floor plan, I think most of you are familiar with this, but I'll just give you the lay of the land pretty quickly. Again, main entrance is up here on the upper left corner. The pinkish color here to the left is your admin suite. Then I'm going to go down to the south. The yellow classrooms there on the left are your fine arts spaces and your school of choice. And to the right of that is the gymnasium at the center of the campus. That will be a tornado shelter, just like the other iterations of this prototype that is required by code. And then at the bottom, Oakwood Terrace, if you remember, we converted the existing gym and library into cafeteria and kitchen. This campus, just the way it was laid out, we weren't able to reuse that same components from this campus, so this is a new cafeteria and kitchen, but it is designed exactly like Oakwood Terrace, like I said, with the exception of just enlarging the cafeteria just a little bit. And then the wing. Yes, we do have an image for you to look at in a minute. Yes, and so then going up the other direction, like you mentioned, is the library up front, and then to the right is the two-story classroom wing. And this is laid out very similarly to Arbor Creek and Trinity Lakes, actually. We relocated the restrooms at Oakwood Terrace to get those pre-K classrooms to work, and here we moved them back to the center, which we think just everything functions better and keeps all of your classroom pods having 5 classrooms. And then the second floor, again, is the same. You've got four classroom pods of 5 classrooms each, and then the multi-purpose room in the center for science or other functions. So as we looked at the materials for this building, we looked at the context of the neighborhood, just like we did at Oakwood Terrace. And you'll see there's a lot of single-story homes around there. There's also a couple of 2-story apartment complexes. There's a lot of very warm tones, and so we wanted to keep the materials for this building also warm, and so we'll look at that here on the next page. This is the exterior view of the front of the campus. It looks just like Oakwood Terrace, just a little bit different in the color variations. We're using the same concrete masonry for where you see like kind of the white color in the renderings. That's the lighter color material. That's the same color as Oakwood Terrace, but we pulled in a darker brick this time compared to Oakwood Terrace to give a little bit more contrast. And then to the left and the right of the library here, you can see the composite wood material. We used that on the right side here at Oakwood Terrace. We expanded it over here to the other side of the library, using that in a couple of more places on this campus. It's a lighter in tone to the one in Oakwood Terrace, since we went darker with the brick, just to keep things balanced out and have that contrast. And then all of the trim, the metal trim that you see is also a darker shade compared to Oakwood Terrace, but you can see on the board that Kaylee's pointing at, everything in that upper left corner are your exterior materials. This is the front of the campus, again, looking at the main entrance and the library. Again, keeping the same language from Oakwood Terrace. If you remember, we sloped that roof to bring down the scale of the building. And this is a very similar neighborhood with the smaller homes, smaller in scale. And so we wanted to respect that and not do the extremely high volume that the Trinity Lakes and Arbor Creek version has. So this is the back side. On the right side, you can see a portion of the 2-story classroom addition for context. That middle box is the gym. And then on the left is the new cafeteria. So this is a new design element for this prototype. What we chose to do is bring that same sloped roof that we have at the front of the library to this back side of the campus. And so this will be the primary entrance into the campus for after-hours events, for parent drop-off. And so that keeps the same language for both your main entrance and your rear entrance, and keeps that consistent. And this is just the same section just from a different angle so that you can see that a little bit better. We do have the same drop-off canopy out front out in front of the cafeteria as well for that parent drop-off time.
Does that face west, those windows there in the back?
These faced east. So the park is to the west.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about that, like evening things. If the sun is coming in, we'd have to have some kind of shade, but.
Yeah, it shouldn't be any problem in the evenings. Yeah, just morning sun. Okay, I'm going to let Kaylee talk through the interior views.
So this is the library. It's very similar to Oakwood Terrace, but we took the whirlybird and we abstracted it. And so instead of the trees that you see at Oakwood Terrace, you're seeing helicopter blades up in that cove light there. And then with the helicopter comes the circle. So the circle actually worked for this plan as well. And so we kept those large circular lights up there, and then added those pops of purple throughout to bring in that school color, but then also keep it neutral so that you can have that outdoor-indoor connection. And so on the board, as far as this here, this is the pocket seating at the back of the pocket seating here, the fabric of the pocket seating, the helicopter blades. They're a metal material so that it brings in that techie vibe. This is gray here, yes, and then this is also gray. And then bringing in that purple paint color at that back wall where the seats are, and then bringing in the color again in the lights and then the furniture. And then here's the carpet within the library there.
I love that y'all kept the reading nooks. Are they also in the hallways like they are at Oakwood Terrace?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So the theme of Oakwood Terrace was kind of like the woodlands and the owls, and so this one with the helicopter, we tried to bring in more metallic type of materials because of the helicopter theme. So it has a more techie vibe whenever you're in it, but that it's brought in with this kind of metal tile that you'll see at the reception area whenever you walk in. And then also this tile here has kind of a swirl to it that looks like a metal, and then the swirl also brings in the helicopter as well, that rotation.
Bell helicopter people are gonna love it.
Yeah.
Or whatever they call it now.
Bell. And then this is the cafeteria, and so it's very similar to Oakwood Terrace, but we were able to, since we expanded that cafeteria, we were able to kind of pop that up and bring in that wood element here as well, where that large glazing is that you saw from the outside at that slanted roof. And then we brought in the circular lights again to bring in that helicopter feel. And then there's opportunity for bringing in like a graphic of a whirlybird on that white portion of the wall so that when students enter into the cafeteria, they'll see like their mascot. And then we've got the serving lines at the back with just the canopy that's over them so that it's good for wayfinding. And then we brought in the metallic looking tile at the stage, so it's kind of like a darker tile here. This is the tile that will be the wainscot throughout the campus, so it has that same kind of metallic swirl to it, and it'll be a wainscot in the cafeteria. The flooring, the white portion actually matches the more gray field paint, and then the darker accent that will be used for the walking lines throughout the campus, and then also just accents within the cafeteria matches your accent paint that'll be at the door frames and the base and things of that nature. So just walking through the board a little bit more on where things are located. This tile kind of has like a fan looking texture to it, and so bringing that into the serving line, this purple tile at the restroom as an accent. And then this is restroom flooring, wash stations, the casework and the cabinetry throughout the campus. This is the reception desk. It's a quartz just to bring in that nicer feel whenever you first walk into the building. And then this is the countertops for the rest of the campus. And then the flooring the LVT flooring that will be within the administration area. So,
I just asked Dr. Harrington, just for the benefit of the rest of the board. Ms. Barton, the principal, has seen all of this.
Yes.
Mhm.
Has been involved in these conversations.
Mhm.
Good.
And is the office colorful like the other ones are?
Like the reception area?
There's a purple accent on the ceiling, so the purple will be in there, but for the most part, the carpet will be this in the reception area, and then this will be behind the reception desk, and then we'll bring in the Bel Air Elementary School signage that we had, like Oakwood Terrace, so it will have the purple within that reception to bring in that school spirit and that color.
Yeah, you mentioned one place in the cafeteria where, like a logo could be
Mhm.
included, but I think at Oakwood Terrace, there's also one in the hallway at the entry. Is
Yes.
that planned here as well?
So how it worked on the other 3 elementaries is the campus got to choose where they wanted those, but those conversations will take place.
Very good.
Yeah.
We like those whirly birds, we want them everywhere.
Yeah, it is a very cool mascot. I was excited to work with the helicopter theme.
Any other questions on materials, renderings?
That piece of
This
it.
is amazing. When I was telling Julie and Matt, when I was reading through this and I came to the first picture of the rendering of the outside of school, like it's not a shock, but I did start to cry because I just am so excited for this neighborhood, just like with Oakwood Terrace. I just think, I've been in Oakwood Terrace many times this year, and the parent involvement is increasing. Like, Dr. Garcia has said, parent involvement the kids are excited about their school, and I just think it'll lift that neighborhood up so much. Dr. Garcia said it's just doing so much for the neighborhood and the families there that I really think this is one of those schools that can benefit from that. And I mean, obviously, you guys, have done a great job putting this all together, and I'm super excited for this campus. I mean, it's going to be great. It's beautiful.
All right, a couple more pieces. This is the less fun part. This is the current cost estimate for the campus. Construction total is running around just over 38.5 million. If you recall from the facilities meeting last fall, this is over budget by more than 6 million. We were conservative with our escalation rates even then, and they have still exceeded what we could have expected. The most recent elementaries that we've seen go out to bid and price have been running $385 to $400 a square foot. Where this places you today is $396 a square foot. It is escalated out to bid day, and that's where you see at the bottom the $422 a square foot. So for comparison, that $385 to $400 range, today this is sitting at $396. So you are in that range. As hard as it is to believe that that's where we are, that is where we are. And I know that this is being funded by surplus bond funds and by general funds, and we've had conversations
Is there an extra?
Pass one back.
Pass one back. I think there was 10, so we should have plenty. You got one, okay. And let me get out my readers.
I don't even need readers, but I need readers this.
I'm telling you,
Big numbers on a small page.
if I can get them out. Okay. What we did was we went and updated our locally defined fund to show these projects with a little padding, just in case something else unexpected comes up. But you can see in that second column, we've added these projects in there, 26 million coming out of this fund, because the other part of that for Bel Air comes out of the bond funds, leftover bond funds. And if you'll recall, back when we had the facilities meeting, we were going to pay we'd estimated 20 million in leftover bond funds, and then about 21 million and some odd dollars coming out of the locally defined. Well, we're now estimating a little over 22 million leftover bond funds, so that will help this situation. And then the remaining part of Bel Air will come out of the locally defined. And then you can see, and I'm just going to talk because these are all, like you said, Chris, these are all kind of one thing when it comes to this fund. The turf fields, those came in at what we estimated at about 500 apiece, so that's what we budgeted for those. The paving for the administration parking lot, we've budgeted 1.2 in there. For that, the transition center repurpose, we've budgeted 3.1 for that. So moving over to the far right column, bringing those all down, that number at the very bottom right hand, the 14,295,000, that's what's left over in that fund after these projects come out of there at these escalated prices.
What's our goal?
And we try to keep at least 10 million in there as a bottom for our emergency fund. So that means we've got about 4.3 million still sitting in there that if some other things come up, we have that opportunity to take care of that. Now, another thing we can do, we haven't done this year, is every year, as like last year, you'll recall that we had left excess revenues over expenditures. We have not moved any of that money over into this fund, and we've got approximately about $8 million we could move over into this fund from the general fund balance. So there'd be another $8 million there. So.
Just a question, a clarification. I thought about this when I was reading the materials earlier. The 1.2 for the administration parking, is that the front and the back, like around the whole building?
That's around the whole building, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that one, because a couple of these projects, with this project and that parking lot, they go together, really. And that's kind of the way we tried to look at it, in case we needed to make some adjustments on the fly. So.
Thank you for this. Appreciate it.
All right. Who's next? Stay up here.
All right, any more questions on the design development of Bel Air Elementary School? This is an action item, so I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the design development for Bel Air Elementary School replacement.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the design development for Bel Air Elementary School replacement. Please vote. That motion passes. Thank you, Huckabee. All right, 13.03, consider approval of CSP 22-12 Transition Center conversion. Mr. Williams?
Can y'all hear me without the microphone? If I stand right here, kind of? Okay, I'll try to do this. As you know, we put that, as it says in our description write-up, we put that out to bid on April 18th. We had 21 companies that attended the pre-bid meeting, which is that's a really good number. 9 of those companies submitted responses. The initial bid we received for the transition center was $2,297,000, which that again is another project that came in a little over what we budgeted, but not terribly too high. And then the next item we will look at kind of goes in with this because of the administration parking lot. So the low bidder on this project was Mart, and they were also the low bidder on the administration parking lot. So since these are right next to each other and could run concurrently, we decided, we went back to Mart, and they were very gracious in trying to find some economies of working these two projects together, and they offered to lower this price by $28,000 if we could just adjust the parking lot timeline to kind of coincide with working on the transition center, if that makes sense. So that's the way we've presented that. That will make the project cost $2,269,000 if both of those are awarded to Mart, which, like I say, that's a following but agenda item. And again, a lot of moving parts in this deal. As you recall, we did the roof separately on the transition center because we had to get it going ahead of time. That amount came in at $313,700. So you put all that together, and then with the $28,000 reduction from Mart, that makes the total construction cost $2,582,700. And then you add in the soft cost, engineering, architect fees, and whatnot, total cost of $2,826,867. And as we just discussed, we have the funds available in our locally defined fund to cover that. So.
I didn't recall. Have we worked with Mart before? Yeah. All right. Any questions from the board about?
What are we doing with the parking lots? Are we tearing all the concrete out and redoing them, or are we blacktopping them, or what are we doing?
Concrete, where it's all going to be concrete. And yes, that is the entire perimeter of the admin building.
Taking out all the concrete and putting in new?
Yes. Get rid of those small playa lakes that form out there when it rains, some of that stuff, and redoing some of the curbing and different things to just put that, it's just in sad shape, so.
Make the flow better, you mean?
Yes, and Josh could probably speak more to the mechanics of
Flow
how
of
that
water,
works.
not flow of traffic, right?
Flow of water or flow of traffic? I'm asking flow of traffic.
No.
So yes, the concrete right now, so one of the big issues is you see spalding. So we have that breaking. We've got there's a lot of rebar that's that's came to the top as well. So original construction was probably not exactly where it needed to be. Number of expansion joints, you can see that in a few places where those are starting to break up, and we've got some deviation. And some of the work actually pushes into curbs and sidewalks. So if you've been down the front, you've seen over the years we have picked them up and moved them around, but they're still moved, so we're gonna get all that out, do the sidewalk, so it'll actually go from sidewalk, curb, parking lot, into the other curb. So.
Josh, I think the question was the flow around
The traffic,
nothing will
is
change.
any of the traffic patterns changing?
Oh, no. So basically what you see, remove everything, put all new concrete back in. We are looking at phasing that to try to minimize the impact to admin, meetings, best time of year. But we'll discuss that with Mart as we have them on to be able to find the best way to coordinate and tie the two projects together.
Luckily, we have a really big parking lot right next door.
Just a little one, yes. Yeah. Accommodates a few people.
All right, we are currently on the transition center conversion. Any further questions on that? I will accept a motion.
I move that the board approve MART Inc. I move that the board approve MART Inc. for the transition center conversion project.
I have a motion, a second, that the board approve MART Inc. for the transition center conversion project. Please vote. And that motion passes. And we will move right down to the consider approval of CSP 22-11, administration parking lot. Any further questions on the parking lot? I will accept a motion.
Move that the board approve MART Inc. for the administration building parking lot project.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve MART Inc. for the administration building parking lot project. Please vote.
Super excited. It's all right.
And that motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to getting those projects going. All right, item 13.05, we've pulled for this evening. So we'll be moving down to item 13.06, consider approval of dyslexia grant training agreement. Okay. All right. Are there any questions on this grant training? There was a lot of information. All right. If no questions, I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the dyslexia grant training agreements as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and second for the board to approve the dyslexia grant training agreements as presented. Please vote. Are you waiting on anybody? No motion passes. Now it's gone. All right, we'll move down to 13.07, consider approval of 2022-2023 staffing table update. Ms.
So
Tuttle?
I provided all of this in the Friday update, but just want to see if there are any questions about any of the units.
Any questions on the changes to the staffing table? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the new units as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the new units as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Okay. We are now ready for open forum number 2. Let's see, I still have a card for Missy Saunders. All right. And you'll have 3 minutes once you start talking, and your time will be up on the screen if you can see it past us.
Thank you. I was listening online earlier. I was like dropping my kid off at a band thing and heard my name and was a little horrified, but I'm here now, and I'm actually glad that I got to hear a lot of what went on tonight, and thank you guys for everything that you do for us, Dr. Harrington, Mr. Romero. I appreciate the time that you're giving us this evening. I'm here to echo the sentiments of my friends from earlier this evening about building a performing arts center in HEBISD. Just a little background, my name is Missy Saunders, like I said. I am an educator in Irving ISD, completed my first year as a teacher this year, kind of proud. But I do have 3 students in HEBISD. I have an incoming 4th grader at Harrison Lane, incoming 7th grader at Central Junior High, and an incoming 11th grade snare section leader at LD Bell, kind of proud. Anyway, we are actively involved in music, have been our entire lives. We're really proud to be in this district. We love the opportunities that our kids have here. We moved here in 2013 from Arlington ISD to give our kids the best musical experience that they could have, which clearly many of you being alumni, I know Mr. Romero is a Blue Raider Band alumni, he understands. So tonight I will answer the question, where did you say my time was? Oh, shoot, okay. Oh, gosh. Okay, tonight I will answer the question, why do our kids always have to travel for contests? The bottom line is that each HEB is not fully equipped to host most UIL contests, and we will always have the need to travel for contests just as football teams have to travel each week for games. It is the UIL directive to have diversity across locations for different places, so no one location will ever host every single contest as much as we might want to. But it's a huge added benefit to bring people in from outside of the district, and we know this in the capacities that we do have. My son has had opportunity to travel to many schools for band. He always comes back grateful for his campus and for his school and for his experiences there. On the flip side, when his Central Junior High band went to Midwest Clinic in Chicago, there was no room on the schedule in the district to host a send-off concert for them, and it had to be held at Haltom High School. And that was disappointing to us because this is our district, our kids, and we couldn't even fulfill the need that they had. So yes, we will always have to travel for contests. We put ourselves out of the running in the 50s and 60s when our facilities were built, long before the parents of our current students were even born. Now, there are obvious money-saving measures, but those will pale in comparison to the cost of a facility itself, as we've seen. But I wanted to just say that we are a fine arts district without the capacity to fully support our fine arts. So we urge you to create a committee to thoroughly research the district benefits, costs, UIL requirements, and make a determination on the future development of a performing arts facility in HEBISD. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're down to other business. All right, so who's giving me this? Okay. All right, so yeah, we're 15.01. Opportunity for board members to request items be placed on future board agendas. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to a future board agenda? All right. 15.02, consider of nomination for TASB board position, Region 11A. So this is the position that is currently held by Becky St. John in Grapevine Colleyville ISD. And from what I understand, she is running for re-election. But I wanted to give the board an opportunity if anybody was interested in running for that position. No interest? Okay. Now we are down to item 15.03, which is another position on the TASB Board Region 11. Position D became available due to the loss of a sitting board member. Yes. So we have another position that's coming open, and we'll be looking for nominations for that position. Is there anybody on the board who would like to pursue that position?
I am. I didn't talk to Julie ahead of time. I think I am. I need to do research, but I think the nomination is not due until January 30th. So, Julie, were you thinking?
I wanted to let you give you the chance if you were interested. If you change your mind and you're not interested, then I might be for sure.
Okay. Let's you and I talk, and I think I just need to know more about some of it. I think I know some of it, but I just would like that to know.
All right, Ty, if you could make a note to push this to the June meeting, then we will actually discuss making a nomination at that time. All right, item 15.04 is on the agenda because we got some information after our last meeting that if we have a LAC member, they should not be our representative to the delegate assembly. And since Julie Cole fills both those spots, she has decided to vacate her position as the nominee for the delegate assembly, and we're looking at opening that back up. Currently, Don Jordan Wells is the alternate, so she has first dibs if she would like to take over as the nominee for the delegate assembly. But if not, or she'd prefer to stay the alternate, then we can open it up for nominations for somebody else. Okay. All right. So as delegate, does the board feel like we should name another alternate? Okay. All right. Does anybody have any interest in being the alternate? Rochelle Ross? All right. Well, then let's make it official, and I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve to designate Dawn Jordan Wells to serve as delegate and Rochelle Ross to serve as alternate to the TASB Delegate Assembly.
Second. I have a motion, a second, that the board approve to designate Dawn Jordan Wells to serve as delegate and Rochelle Ross to serve as alternate to the TASB Delegate Assembly. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right. At this time, we are going to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551, pursuant to sections 551.071 to 551.074.
next board meeting's in our regular spot.